Well, Arise News analyst Mahmud Jega joins us now in the studio for the developments in River State. Thank you so much for being on the news.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, where do you start from? Since the Supreme Court's judgment came about 2 weeks ago, we've had ineffective communication from both sides. Correspondence has been the allegation. You didn't sign the letter. We did not receive the letter. Back and forth, and then there's standoff, the social, cultural, political group, if you like, asking the president to intervene for the second time in 48 hours, but this time telling the president to rein in his Minister of Federal Capital Territory or they will disband their peace committee. What do you make of all of this? Is it just ineffective communication or egos running wild in River State?
Okay.
Let's not forget that the House has also adjourned indefinitely.
Exactly.
Yes.
I have not been to River State for some time, but from what one can see, the River State Assembly, 27 of whose members are loyal to the FCT minister, they are bent on impeaching the governor. And they are doing things. For example, they refused to accept him to deliver the budget, and they adjourned indefinitely so that he will not be able to present the budget. And then the next thing that is likely to happen is if he spends any money, they will say he has spent money illegally and has therefore committed an impeachable offense.
Now that was a trap.
They are setting a trap. More than that, because you see, they have the numbers to impeach him, 27 out of, I think, 35 or so. They have the overwhelming numbers. The remaining obstacle in the impeachment process is the chief judge. Because when you pass an impeachment resolution, you send it to the chief judge to constitute the panel that will investigate the petition. And if the panel returns a not guilty verdict, then you must drop the impeachment charge and you cannot raise it again within the life of the current assembly. It happened in Nasarawa State in 2014. The state assembly impeached the governor, Umaru Tanko Almakura, but the chief judge set up a panel which returned a verdict of not guilty, and they therefore had to drop. That is what the River State Assembly now is afraid of, which is why they are also going after the chief judge. They said yesterday that they are initiating investigation into allegations of age falsification on the part of the chief judge. What I can see is that they suspect that the chief judge may not do their bidding and set up a panel that will definitely return a guilty verdict. So they also want to do away with the chief judge of River State. Wow. It's a nasty political maneuver.
It really is. And you have a governor here who's trying to be a peacemaker. He's saying prioritize the interests of the state above political interests. Recall that fella actually, the late great fella actually said, I'd not be gentleman at all. In Nigerian politics, gentlemanliness, does it really work? Or is it this, grandstanding, tough stance that, works? And now that Fubara doesn't seem to be following, that norm, he's been weakened every day.
He has been weakened badly by the Supreme Court judgment, which restored the 27 pro-Wike members of the State Assembly. That is the biggest blow. Now, to be fair, Fubara himself was not exactly playing gentleman. When he had the upper hand, he was also, pushing it to the extreme, including, for example, holding those rush local government elections so that he will be in full control of all the structures. And even when the last local government election he held has been annulled by the Supreme Court, he is hastening to conduct another, although this time a bit more carefully, because the August date at least allows the River State Electoral Commission to give the necessary notices, because the last one, they didn't give the notice required by the law, which was why the whole thing crumbled. Now he is playing the gentleman, as you said, because really the cards are stacked against him. Because there is no way now he can spend any money or pay any salary unless he gets the State Assembly to pass the budget. And don't forget also the Supreme Court has actually stopped money from being paid to Rivers State.
But when you hear Pandef, I mean, frantically call President Bola Tinubu despite their meeting with him. At that meeting at the State House, he told them to go back home and make peace, that the ball was in their court, and that the Supreme Court has spoken, that should be supreme. But now they are saying our own efforts to get the FCT minister to come to the table is not yielding any result. What really should President Bola Tinubu be doing? Should he even do anything? Because he also said, I have been intervening publicly and privately, and this crisis is festering.
I agree with Pandef. The only person who can bring peace to Rivers State now is the president. And the easiest way to do it is to tell the FCT minister, who is in full control of those assembly members, that look, don't try to impeach the governor of Rivers State, because it could lead to a breakdown of order in a very important state, with some of the Ijo militant groups threatening to attack oil facilities if you impeach Governor Fubara. However, to be even-handed, if you tell Minister Wike not to push on with the impeachment, you have to get some concessions from the governor also. Maybe tell the governor, okay, do this to the assembly and to like that. But only the president has the necessary authority right now to do that.
But from the body language of the president, does it seem to you that he has not really washed his hands of this case? Can he really rein in a Wike? Well, how will the president go about that?
He's the only one who can. I don't see anybody else in Nigeria now who can rein in Nyesom Wike, apart from even the president probably has to do it carefully, because Minister Wike is a bit volatile. But only the president has the authority. And the main thing is to draw the line and say, don't impeach Fubara. Right. Not because of God, but in order to avoid complete chaos.
What do you think an impeachment would lead to? What are the consequences if an impeachment eventually happens?
The biggest threat is that Fubara's supporters, in particular the Niger Delta militant groups, may resort to violence and attack oil facilities, which will be devastating for the whole country, not just Rivers State. And also a lot of people could die. Buildings will be set on fire. We saw that last time. Just on the eve of the local government election, buildings were burnt and the local government secretariat, and it could be worse next time if you try to impeach the governor.
Is this just another bad example of political godfatherism in Nigeria?
It's the worst example, not just one of the bad, but probably the worst. We have had many other sad experiences with godfatherism in Nigeria, beginning from the abduction of Governor Ingige in 2003 and being taken to a shrine and all that. But all that one looked a bit funny and comical compared to what is about to happen now.
But is it just about godfatherism, or the need or the desire to take control of the coffers of the state?
Well, it's all part of the godfather. What is a godfather without control of the coffers?
A godfather, I mean, is supposed to be a positive influence, to say, look, this is how to govern in the interest of the people.
That was in the olden days.
Oh
in modern Nigeria now, it is a very negative connotation.
Although there are those who will say, when you look at the example of Akwa Ibom State with Pastor Moeno and his predecessor, perhaps that's a good example. We've not seen so much of fracas from that state.
There were a few states where the godfather thing worked. Like Bukola Saraki and Governor Abdul Fattah Nkwar. There are a few examples, but in the majority of cases, it didn't work well.
Okay, let's bring in another development. Okay. Just stay with us, yes, indeed. Now, the Court of Appeal has stayed the enforcement of its January 10 judgment, which affirmed the reinstatement of Sanusi Lamido Sanusi as the Emir of Kano. In that judgment, the appeal court had set aside the June 20 ruling of the Federal High Court. Now, Kano, which nullified Sanusi's appointment, of course. Now, in essence, Sanusi cannot be installed as Emir of Kano. Now, ruling on two applications brought before it by an aggrieved kingmaker, Aminu Dan Agundi. The appeal court this Friday granted a stay of execution of its earlier judgment pending the determination of the appeal to the Supreme Court by Agundi. He wants the Supreme Court to overturn the ruling of the appeal court that the Federal High Court, Kano, lacked the jurisdiction to determine his fundamental rights enforcement suit, which led to the nullification of Sanusi's appointment. While delivering the ruling of a 3-member panel of the Court of Appeal in Abuja Friday, Justice Okon Abang said the court found the applications for stay meritorious and deserving of the court's discretion in the interest of justice. Mahmud Jega, okay, let's listen to that first.
Party should maintain status quo. Status quo.
And the respondent.
Yes, the respondent. The respondent in this appeal that they should maintain status quo pending the decision of the Supreme Court.
The Emir of Kano, Alhaji Amina Ado Bayero, as at today, and all the other emirs remain the legitimate emirs of Kano, Rano, and all the other emirs in Kano. And I will expect the Inspector General of Police, the DGSS, and all other security agents to respect this ruling of this honorable court. Because what they are saying is they should maintain status quo ante, which, as you know, the last time we came here, this court struck out that decision of the Federal High Court, which says that we should maintain status quo ante.
Okay, Madam Mahmud Jega, what do you make of this development? What does it mean for the Kano Emirate and Kano people?
It means the confusion around the throne of the Emir of Kano continues. Because honestly, the courts are not yet asserting themselves and making it very clear. I have had the explanation of Alhaji Aminu Babala Agundi. He was here a few minutes ago. I was watching on telly. And, you know, the Federal High Court in Kano initially quashed the amendment to the chieftaincy law, which the Kano State Assembly and Kano State government said removed all the previous 4 emirs and paved the way for the reappointment of Sanusi. Now, the Court of Appeal quashed that judgment, and the effect of that was like, okay, the law was legally passed, so the reinstallation of Sanusi was legal, but now the Court of Appeal is saying, wait, don't enforce that judgment because the man has gone to the Supreme Court, so let's wait for the Supreme Court to give a ruling. So, the Supreme Court itself may not be in a hurry because this is really a political tangle. Anybody could see there are 2 emirs in Kano, one for the state government, one for the federal government. And I don't know, the judges may be saying, look, behind the scenes politicians, please go and untangle this matter because it's not really a legal matter. It is a terrible thing. But otherwise, the Supreme Court may take a very long time to deliver a ruling. Yeah, you may have read yesterday the case of the dethroned Emir of Gwandu has been on for 19 years now. And it is still languishing.
So what happens in the interim while waiting for Supreme Court's ruling on this? Who stays, who lays claim to the seat of the
This is the problem. As Agundi said, if the Court of Appeals has stayed its own judgment, that means the judgment earlier delivered by the Federal High Court in Kano is the subsisting one, and that judgment quashed the amendment to the chieftaincy law, which removed Emir Bayero and the other 4 emirs and paved the way for the reinstatement. So maybe what he is saying may be correct. I'm not a lawyer. That the total effect of it is that Aminu Ado Bayero is the emir as of now.
Okay.
I don't know if lawyers see it that way.
And they've been interpreting it as it suits them. Well, the Kano State Attorney General has reacted. He's insisting that the Court of Appeal ruling does not invalidate Sanusi's reinstatement. That's from the Kano State Attorney General to this ruling. But I want to ask you, the role of the courts in recent times, whether it's in politics or in traditional institutions, how would you describe it? The case in point being Rivers. We've seen a Supreme Court, a case go all the way to the Supreme Court. But that has not doused tensions. It has not brought solution to the matter on ground. And you just highlighted how this is more political than it is legal. Do you think, should the Supreme Court rule on this, do you even think that it will, resolve all of this crisis?
Well, depending on how firmly and how clearly, because a ruling that allows everybody to run and claim
and interpret
victory, exactly, interpret it the way it suits him. Like in the case of the Rivers judgment, the courts have to be very careful, in particular the Supreme Court, because to say that those members of the Rivers State Assembly retain their seats because there is no evidence that they defected, when everybody in Nigeria saw videos of them declaring for APC and of them going to APC's state secretariat and being received as members. It was very embarrassing in summary, and I hope the judges will be very careful next time not to tarnish the image of the judiciary.
And in this case of Kano and traditional institution, the role of the courts, what we are saying?
Okay, in the Kano case, it is not over because the Supreme Court has not ruled. So we probably will have to wait. Maybe the judges may say, look, let's delay, let's postpone it by 2 years. After that, there will be an election in 2027. If the government changes in Kano, then the matter will be resolved politically. I don't know whether that is what they are thinking. But they may also they say, look, politicians go and mess up and create this terrible situation, and they say we are the ones, exactly, that we are the one who should disentangle it. We can as well leave it to them.
But the judiciary can actually save itself, from this. We'll have to say thank you very much. Mahmud Jega is a Rise analyst on Newsnight tonight.